Well, US indices saw sharp cuts across the board in trade yesterday. When we're looking at the Dow, it was down around 2%. The S&P 500 though down 3.2%, and the Nasdaq totally beaten down 4.3%. Second consecutive day of these sharp cuts being seen on all three US indices. This is largely on the back of inflation fears, which continue to mar markets, and essentially it's the tech stocks which have really been beaten the most. When we're looking across the board at Meta, Alphabet, Tesla, even Tesla was down nearly 9% in trade yesterday. When of course inflation and federal rate hikes, as well as central banks globally hiking rates, is not helping the current situation. European markets were also lower, with the DAX and FTSE down 2.2% and 2.3% respectively. The Stock 600 was down nearly 3% in trade yesterday. However, post that, there has been a bit of a recovery, a bit of a bounce back that is being seen at the moment. In fact, over the last 1 hour or so, when we're looking at US futures, they've turned green, especially over the last 2 hours. When we're looking at the Dow futures up around 1/3%, the S&P 500 futures up almost 0.5%, and the Nasdaq futures up around 0.75% in trade today. And that move is quite secular. Asian indices were sharply lower in early trade today, and they've seen a recovery as well. So when we're looking at the Nikkei, it was down nearly 2%. It's currently down less than 1%. The Shanghai is up around 0.25%. The Hang Seng, of course, mind you, the tech heavy Hang Seng index down 2.6%. So that's still seeing sharp cuts. The ASX 200, which is down over 2%, is now down around 1.3%, and the Kospi is down over 1% in early trade today. So largely there seems to be some kind of a recovery which is coming through. When I'm looking at the SGX Nifty, that too is down around 0.5% or so, just holding on to that 16,200 mark at the moment. That's where the SGX Nifty is placed. When I'm looking at oil, there's a large withdrawal in terms of oil prices, and oil prices have fallen from that $110 a barrel mark where it was yesterday to $101. So there continues to be large fluctuations in the oil price space as well. So roughly at $101, largely driven by demand concerns. The China lockdowns is what is driving prices lower. Definitely good for Indian markets. When we're looking at gold, more tempered. Gold is at around the $1,860 an ounce mark. When I'm looking at bond yields, again sharp fluctuations in bond yields is what we've seen. In fact, since today morning itself, bond yields have fluctuated by 3 bips or so. And this is the US 10-year bond yield, which doesn't fluctuate as much, right? So sharp fluctuations seen there. In fact, the US 10-year dipped below the 3% and now has recovered to the 3.03%. And mind you, it was at 3.1%, 17% in fact in trade yesterday. So just the fluctuations have been quite sharp across the board. When I'm looking at crypto, well, crypto not helped in the current environment, definitely. And Bitcoin is just below the 31,000 mark. It's down 10% since yesterday when we last spoke. So solid fluctuations, solid volatility being seen in markets at the moment. Of course, currently for Indian markets, it seems like a negative start.